Welcome to a lesson with Dr. Powell. You may have seen the functions sine inverse on your calculator, cosine inverse, and other ones. Let's talk about those right now. Well, this actually doesn't seem to work, though. If you think about the sine function as being a wave, what happens when you swap your x's and y's? Well, you end up getting a wave going that way, which definitely does not pass the vertical line test, which means sine doesn't have an inverse. Wait, but it's called sine inverse. Why is that? That's simply because we've restricted our domain. Sine inverse on the calculator refers to a very specific domain restriction that we have made on the sine curve. As a general rule of thumb, you always make sure the first quadrant, or from 0 to pi halves, is within that domain restriction. Now, if you want this to be a connected domain, you won't want to go over here, because then when you reflect, it wouldn't pass the vertical line test. So you could think of a horizontal line test, it wouldn't pass. Hence, we stop at pi halves and we go back the other way. To negative pi halves. So sine inverse is simply the inverse of the function sine of x, and here's a little notation, restricted to the interval from negative pi halves to pi halves. That's what this notation means, sine x restricted to that interval. So, for instance, if we want, let's practice this. What if we wanted to take sine inverse of something? Now, what is the sine inverse function? It switches input and output for the sine function. You know how sine inputs angles? That means this is going to output angles. Sometimes this is called an arc sine, because arc refers to to a part of the outside of a circle. Radian measure is actually arc length. So hence arc sine, the name. Sometimes you'll see inverse sine is written as arc sine. Okay, so the output's going to be angle and the input is ratio. So you kind of swap the two. And which ratio? Well, the ratio that sine would output. So meaning the y value on the unit circle. Okay, so you're going to have a y value, right? So you're going to input a y value and you're going to get out an angle. So let's try that. What if we did sine inverse of negative a half? Okay, that's a y value between negative 1 and 1 on the unit circle, up and down. Okay, what angle should we output? Well, so negative a half for the y value. And you notice there's different ways of getting to that. Which one should we pick? Well, we always pick something that was in our restricted domain from negative pi halves to pi halves. That actually enables us to have a solid choice, so we get one output instead of many for a function, because we want sine inverse of x to be a function, so we want a specific choice, and it will be the choice the calculator gives as well. So this gives us a specific choice, and it's this one. It's a negative angle going down this way. So to negative 1/2, that would be the smaller angle going down here. So it'd be a negative pi 6. Now, this is the only angle that would work in this interval and completely. Just one output. Don't try to use anything else to get to this point. It's only this. Okay, so that's how we can think about how to evaluate an inverse trig function, at least the inverse sine function. Thanks for watching.